me, hosted by Brent Fox. Of course, today is a very, very late night edition of It's Just Me. I'm sorry about not being able to do the show yesterday. As I always mention, real life person, real life situations. Um, I know that that is not a viable excuse or what have you, but unfortunately, things do happen, and you have to be able to adjust the best way you can. Um, but on a lighter note, I am actually going to be discussing a lot of boxing that is going to go on this weekend. Um, we have fights that are lined up for tomorrow, of course, and then we have some other fights that or another card that I know of that is actually set up for Sunday. What is it? It would be the six, yeah, 4 6 of 25. So kind of looking forward to that. All right. So as per the thumbnail, Top Rank is actually having a fight card featuring Richard Torres Jr. Versus Guido Vianello. Now, this is actually a pretty intriguing matchup because Richard Torres Jr. first and foremost is a he's about 6 foot, maybe 6 foot one, no taller than 6 foot two. He is a southpaw, fighting in the heavyweight division. He represented the USA in the Olympics, I believe, of 2016, if I'm not mistaken. Um, no, no, I'm sorry. It was either 2016 or 2020. I know that's a big gap. That's like 4 years, Brent. Come on. Um, I'm gonna say 2020. I think it was more recent than that. Yeah, because it's 2025 now, and I don't. Yeah, 2020 is probably is yeah, it's when he actually represented the Olympics. So, um, ever since then, Top Rank has actually been building up his career, and I think Richard Torres hasn't even I don't think he's had double digit fights yet. I think that he might be I think he might be 8-0. If anything, it's no more than 12 fights. I do know that. Um Guido, on the other hand, has had a plethora of experience. He's been featured on several top rank fight cards. He has also had some memorable fights with Efe Ajagba. And then he also had an upset um, that was against him, of course, that went against him via Johnny Rice. Now with that particular Johnny Rice fight, it was kind of a lot of it's a lot of back and forth and some controversy between hardcore boxing fans about how Johnny Rice won. Hey Joe, what's happening, man? Um, about how Johnny Rice won. Yes, Johnny Rice did win off of a TKO because of a cut that he did actually place on Guido. But I think that even though the fight was actually close, there were better moments from Johnny Rice than Guido had. Guido did have some great moments, but I think Johnny's were more consistent that night. And I think that, along with the cut, of course, um, guided him to victory. Now, with um, with Richard Torres Jr., who my brother Cadillac Red affectionately calls Rocky, um, he is a he's a talented fighter. He's very explosive. I will give him that. He is a very explosive fighter. The only thing that actually really worries me about Richard Torres Jr. is this: his defense is still going to need some work. Um, I would think with all the film that he actually watched on Tyson, especially early on when Tyson actually started off as a southpaw, I believe. So even by watching that, you would think that Torres would be able to get the head movement down, and with that peekaboo defense, it's a lot of side to side lateral as you kind of come in. Um, Torres is still kind of doing the whole take some to get some method, and that is not going to last very long at heavyweight. Heavyweight, and even though this is a true cliche, one punch can actually change the fight, and especially if you are a southpaw fighting an orthodox fighter. Um, Guido, when he actually does well, he is a very good boxer, like my brother Junior the Truth mentioned earlier in his show. Um, and also, being a good boxer means that you're able to maneuver away from punches and then actually set some up on your own. Here's what actually worries me the most about, well, I won't say the most, but something that actually really concerns me is this. I think it's Guido's focus. Um, you could easily tell, let me back up. You could easily tell that Guido has actually leveled up and has actually worked very hard to try to prepare for this particular fight. I have never seen Guido this lean, ever. I've watched Guido for quite a while. I know at least since maybe 2022, 2023. Um, I've never seen him. I've never seen him this lean. Um, I've never seen. I've never seen his body language look as though nothing mattered but winning. And I'm not saying anything negative about Guido, but I just noticed that there is something different. Now, once they get in the ring and once punches are exchanged, that may all go out the window. But for right now, I believe that Guido looks to be in the best shape of his career, and he also seems to be very determined about winning this particular fight. With a lack of pro experience, um, and Richard Torres Jr. actually has, along with Guido, of course, looking different and then kind of giving off a different type of energy as far as his focus for this particular fight. It would not surprise me if Guido actually upset Richard Torres Jr. Now, the likelihood of that actually happening, even though I've mentioned all of this, is still very low. I think that Richard Torres Jr. is probably going to find a way to hurt Guido and then pretty much take him out. I think it'll be a good fight as long as it lasts. But this fight was actually set up for Torres Jr. for a reason, and I think that reason is sometimes Guido is not as good as he is. Sometimes Guido's not as defensively responsible as he should be. There are times where he'll pull straight back to try to avoid a shot instead of just moving laterally like he normally should do. There are instances where he may get a little too comfortable and have his hands low during exchanges. Now, Guido is a very fluid, excuse me, Guido is actually a very fluid puncher. And if he gets very comfortable, there are some defensive lapses, like I've mentioned, with his hands being lower than what they should be, him stepping straight back, things of that nature. But if he stays the course, if he stays as focused as he looks now, again, Richard Torres Jr. may have a long night. Um, I honestly am concerned about a possible 2-3 combination or 3-2 combination. And what that means in plain English is this. If you're an orthodox fighter, which means your left hand is in front, um, that means that you're going to hit someone with a left hook and then a right hand. Um, a 2-3 combination is basically your right hand goes first and then your left hook follows it. So if you do a 3-2, um, that just basically means that you're throwing this hook first, from your lead or your jab hand, and then you coming back with a right hand or a power hand, basically. Um, if you're doing a 2-3, which is the reverse, then you're throwing your power hand first, and then you're coming back with your left hook, um, which are very, very effective combinations, especially on southpaws. So I'd probably be on the lookout for Guido's right hand. Guido does throw a nice sharp right hand, so that is something to be looking out for. Now, on the other hand, Richard Torres Jr. throws a very good right hook, and he also throws a devastating left hand. Whether that be a straight left punch or whether that be an uppercut or sometimes those vicious hooks that just kind of wrap around his opponent's guard and detonates somewhere around the temple. So I would probably be on the lookout for that as well from Richard Torres Jr. Again, he is a guy that does not mind taking one to get his two off. So, I'd probably be on the lookout for that. Um, I somehow believe that he is working on his defense, and when I say he is Richard Torres Jr., I think that he may actually be working on his defense. And I would look to see improvements on that. But I'm still a little fearful that he would probably walk into some unnecessary right hands that could be potentially damaging. But the fun is actually finding out when you watching a fight. So I would look for those key elements just to kind of see who may actually come out on top. Once again, if I had to make a pick, then I would still pick Richard Torres Jr. and I would pick him, unfortunately, by stoppage. I don't know how long the rounds would be, but I think it's probably going to be a 10-round fight since it's the main event. If that's the case, I would probably look for Guido to probably get stopped in either rounds 5 or 7. It would be the midpoint of the fight. Um, and again, if I'm wrong, Guido may actually win by unanimous decision. I do not see him knocking out Richard Torres Jr., but stranger things have actually happened. So if Guido wins, it'll be by points. If Torres wins, I think that it'll be by stoppage. Um, Moving on to another fight that I kind of found interesting. Um, Mavoy Janibek is actually coming back, and if you don't know who Janibek is, he is a Kazakhstan fighter from, I think he's a Kazakhstan fighter who fights in the middleweight division. He also fights under the top rank banner. He is a southpaw who actually has very good hand speed, and he also has quite a significant amount of power. He's going to be taking on a little known fighter, also in the middleweight division by the name of Anuel. The last name, I think, is, um, you know what? I think it's Nagamin. No, I think the N is silent. It's um, Ngam Misu Ungue, I think. I am so sorry, sir, if I'm messing up your last name. I do not want to butcher that. Last initial is N, as in November. I'll put it that way. Now I did a little bit of homework on him, and thanks to a YouTube highlight site called Themistocles, and shout outs to Themistocles for being able to have some film on this particular individual. So I could actually kind of look and see what type of fighting style this gentleman has. He appears to actually be a very fast and fluid fighter. He's an orthodox fighter. He hails from France by way of the Congo. Um, and he's a very fast, he's a very fluid puncher. Um, Especially with the outmatched opponents that were on that were on his film. But I think with Janibek, he's probably going to have to be a little bit more careful and calculating. Um, from what I actually saw, he does have a good left hook. His right hand is decent. It's not as sharp as you would probably want it to be, but it is very, very effective. Now, again, most of his highlights are from outmatched opponents who probably had well, not probably, whom which did not have any answers for his speed or power. Um, it makes for an interesting matchup because despite that, the power does seem real, especially when it lands cleanly. Um, but again, I don't think that's actually enough for Janibek. The gentleman is 14-0, which means he was undefeated. He has 9 KOs, which is a very, very respectable um, fight to KO ratio. But again, most of these people were outmatched, and unfortunately, that's kind of to be expected once when you throw someone that is outmatched into the ring with you. Again, while this gentleman does actually have very fluid combinations and things of that nature. Very fluid movement and combinations. And what I mean by movement is his ability to just kind of go in and out, avoid shots, things of that nature. Again, I got to reemphasize that he was doing that against outmatched competition. If he tries that with someone that's on level or possibly above it, I don't think that what he's doing now would be successful. But I do think that despite that, he may be capable of making some adjustments to try to give Janibek a run for his money. But I just don't see him actually beating Janibek. But I think that it's interesting because first and foremost, this guy's an orthodox fighter with a decent right hand, but a very good left hook. Um, he throws a whipping left hook. Um, and I think that if he throws that enough to the body, he can eventually he could get a good headshot using that left whipping left hook, and then he can come back with a right hand. But I just don't see him having enough to overcome Janibek, um, which is a testament to Top Rank. They do find these gentlemen or ladies with these respectable records, but they're fighting limited competition, and then when they finally have to step up to someone that actually has the same level of skills and talent, or possibly better, then yeah, it provides an outlet for the top ranked fighters to pretty much showcase their abilities and skills. So we'll see how that actually goes. Um, Now there was another fight that I really wanted to be able to talk about was the Philip Hergovich and the Joe Joyce fight. Now, I actually did sit down and watch a common opponent, um, which was Big Bang Zhang. Now, the reason that I actually watched Big Bang Zhang was um, for Joe Joyce with Philip Hergovich. Um, Joe Joyce is a lumbering fighter that has a vast amount of power. With Zhang, he is almost the same thing, except he is in a different fighting stance. Zhang is a southpaw. Joe Joyce is an orthodox fighter. Both are kind of heavy plotting fighters, but both have crushing power. Um, so with Hergovig, um, he was able to defeat Big Bang Zhang. With Joe Joyce, unfortunately, he was not able to beat Big Bang Zhang. I'm not going to do a triangle theory, but I am going to discuss because of Zhang's fighting style and how similar it is to Joe Joyce's. Um, the likelihood of Philip Hergovig actually winning that fight, to me, and this is just from observation and I was actually looking at fights, uh, before the show just to kind of, get myself back up to speed. But with Joe Joyce, a lot of his previous wins were him just being able to endure and just overtake the opponent, much like he did Daniel Dubois earlier in his career. Joe Joyce was able to he is the ultimate take some to get some type fighter. Um, but with Big Bang Zhang, Zhang actually caused his face to swell up because he took so many vicious punches. His face swelled up, and then of course the fight had to be stopped. So Zhang won by TKO. Um, I just don't I really don't see Joe Joyce being able to apply enough pressure or withstand the punches at this point in his career that Philip Hergovig would actually throw at him, quite literally. Um, when he is when he is actually comfortable, Hergovig is a very, very fluid puncher. He has a very good 1-2-3 combination. Of course, your 1-2 shots, and then your lead hook. Mm. I just don't see Joe Joyce being able to withstand that. I think the durability that they once had may not be there as much. I'm sure that he has. Hey, Tay Tay. I'm sure that he actually has a very good chin, but I don't think that his chin is what it once was. I think that unfortunately there is a crack in the granite, and then I think that he may not be able to withstand those punches coming from Hergovik. As you know, Joe Joyce likes to move forward and just endure, and then have his punches actually just crush you and overtake you. I just don't see that with Hergovig. I don't see Joe Joyce later on in his career being able to do that either. I think Joe Joyce is over 40, if I'm not mistaken. So I think that it is going to be very, very difficult for Joe Joyce, especially if he is over 40. If he is over 40 or right at 40, then yeah, it's going to be extremely difficult for him to be able to keep up with Hergovik, especially with the fighting style that he had even when he was young. He didn't have a fleet of foot style. Uh, he didn't have, lightning fast hands. As a matter of fact, some people just kind of teased that he was slow mo Joe Joyce or slow Joe Joyce. Um, and unfortunately, as you get older, that speed is actually going to dissipate even more. So yeah, I just really don't see Joe Joyce being able to withstand and then overtake Philip Hergovig. I think that because of that, I think Hergovig might actually outbox him, and then he will probably eventually wear down Joe Joyce. I will give Joe Joyce either round 8 or round 9, and then I think the fight will probably be called off. I don't think that it'll be a situation to where Joe Joyce is actually just on his back or unconscious or anything like that. I just think that unfortunately he's going to take a lot of punishment. And I think because of that, it's going to significantly slow him down. And then he's going to be at a point to where he's not going to be able to properly defend himself, probably in rounds 8 or 9. And then I think they'll wave off the fight. Um, I do not know. Um, I do not know if after this, Joe Joyce would be able to fight on a certain level again. I think that he could probably be a house fighter or possibly a gatekeeper for a couple of more years, but I think after that, he'll need to stop fighting. Um, I think unless there has been some sort of significant change in how he actually defends himself, um, he needs, and ever, I don't, it, and this is just me. This is me caring about another human being. I am not in a position to tell another man what to actually do with himself when he've accomplished so much more than I have in real life. Okay. But just my concern for this man as a human being, and I'm not trying to do the Stephen A. Smith, even though, my hairline look like, um, I'm, I'm not trying to demean Joe Joyce or anything else like that. But I would really strongly consider if someone in his circle truly cares about, this man after boxing, depending on how bad this is, okay? Depending on how bad this is, I would ask Joe Joyce to, just maybe step aside and retire if he can. If it's just not financially feasible and he has to keep fighting, which is very tragic. It is very sad um, when the men and women that are, training every day and getting ready for these fights have to do that longer than what they need to. It's always sad to see, but I would strongly recommend if Joe Joyce succumbs to Philip Hergovig, that he actually just kind of step down and retire. Again, this is coming from a standpoint of caring about someone as a human being and not just as some fighting pit bull or something like that. That you know that unfortunately would be sent off somewhere. Um, once he shows that he's not able to fight the way that he used to. Um, I just, I really just think that if he does not pull this off, then he may need to consider retirement. Um, Speaking of that, um, there is a gentleman by the name of Deontay Wilder who actually announced that he was actually back and will I think he's fighting June the 27th, is it? I think he might be fighting June the 27th with an opponent to be determined. Um, I am I have mixed emotions about it. Once I met once I met the champ in person, I immediately let him know that I appreciated him, and by me saying I appreciated him, that means that he doesn't owe anybody anything else. Now, if he feels like he owes it to himself, like he may be alluding to try to finish this thing off the way that he should, then I'll stand behind that. I will publicly stand behind that. Um, but me caring about this man as a human being, especially after meeting him, um, I just want to make sure that he this time is 100% focused and ready to do whatever needs to be done to win the fight. It does not mean cheating or any heinous acts like that. What I basically mean is just being so focused that nothing, absolutely nothing, gets in your way of your goal. And I think if he implements that strategy while he's training, he's not going to be able to be stopped. Um, so, shouts out to the champ Deontay Wilder. Hopefully, he comes away with a victory on June 27th. And hopefully, his opponent, whomever that may be, will make sure that they actually show up. And then, nothing goes actually wrong with the card or anything like that. I would look forward to his return. Um, I think that there was another fight that was actually going on, and I think it was I know that Charles Conwell is actually fighting. I think it might be the 19th or the 26th. It's going to be one of those two dates, and I kind of look forward to seeing what he actually does. Also, Caleb Plant has actually announced that he was going to fight. I believe it's May 2nd, and surprise, surprise, Jermall Charlo, and that's the larger Charlo that fought middleweight and then is now moving up to super middle. He'll actually be back in action as well. Now, I haven't heard anything about Jermell uh, as of yet, and maybe I should just kind of keep my antennas up on that. But it is exciting to hear that Jermall is trying to come back and fight. So, I really wish him the best of luck. I hope training camp actually goes very, very well for him. And now that he actually has something to focus on, I hope that he actually puts on a dominating performance against his opponent. And, if things go right with Caleb Plant and his opponent, the two may meet up immediately after their fights. So, and that would be a very, very intriguing matchup. So I'm very excited to hear about that. What's up, Jared? I'm very, very excited to hear about that. And, you know, hopefully boxing will benefit from these type of rivalries. I do agree with my brother, Junior the Truth. Um, and you can check him out on YouTube most weekdays, and I think he's doing it probably around 12 noon Central Standard, so 1 p.m. Eastern, on YouTube on weekdays. I think he's doing the Punch Junkie again. So, excellent programming. He is very insightful as far as like the boxing matchups, and then just the state of boxing in general as far as business goes, things of that nature. So, it's always, and he is very entertaining. I will say that. But please check out his content, and also check out my brother Jared O 11 Green's content. He has several shows that he's doing now. Very busy man on YouTube. Uh, the first show that actually comes to mind is the Southern Baller Show that usually comes on YouTube on Sundays at 3:30 p.m. Central Standard. He also has From a Black Man's Perspective that usually comes on Saturdays, which may technically be today, depending on where you are. And that show actually comes on, I think, probably around 10 or 11 a.m. Just put it in the chat, Jared, if you're still here. What time the Black Man's Perspective show comes on, and then also he has a show that actually breaks down the wire that him, the General 78, and my other brother, Coach 67 Sports TV does on I think it's every other Saturday where they break down the wire. Okay, so it's around 10:30 a.m. Okay. So the Black Man's Perspective comes on around 10:30 a.m. And I think the show about the wire uh, will come on probably immediately after that. Um, but it's good quality entertainment. Um, you'll get a few laughs out of it too, which everybody needs to be able to just kind of smile and enjoy themselves, especially with the way that the world is actually moving at this point. um, but yeah, and speaking of such, my brother, Coach 67 Sports TV, has a plethora of entertaining shows and informative shows that he actually has. There is no better podcaster, in my opinion, than Coach 67 when it comes to these Southern universities athletics, especially football. Um, he is very informative when it actually comes to that. Um, let's see. Oh, okay, all right. Oh, gotcha. Okay, okay. So Jared is just mentioning that it's gonna be yeah, it's gonna be there's gonna be a show that's gonna be on 10:30 a.m. tomorrow. And then I think our General 78 is kind of tied up. Um they're doing a wrestling show tomorrow, and they're discussing the beef between Swerve Strickland and then Booker T. That ought to be a good one, though, man. That ought to be a good one. So I think that I'm gonna try to set a reminder and tune into that myself. I definitely want to hear what y'all got to say about that, man. I just keep remembering about Booker T slipping up and saying the N word on live TV. You talking about Hulk Hogan? We gonna get that? Oh, oh. that always, man, that always cracks me up, man. He messed up on live TV and just covered up his face like, oh. But yeah, I look forward to actually looking at that content. But yeah, boy, yeah, man, that always gets me, bro. That always gets me. But yeah, man, I'm gonna go ahead, man, and wrap this on up. Thank y'all so much for coming out and supporting the show. This again has been It's Just Me, of course, hosted by Brent Fox. I'm gonna try to be more consistent on Thursdays. If anything comes up to where I cannot do the show, I'll do what I did yesterday, which is at least send some sort of notification, just letting y'all know when else I'm gonna do the show. I'm not gonna cancel the show. I'm gonna try to postpone it for another day. in a very worst case scenario, but still look out for me on Thursdays. I'm gonna try to see if I can stick to maybe the 7 p.m. Oh wait, nope, got a schedule change, so no, that ain't happening. Um, so I might wind up having to do the Thursday shows probably a little bit earlier. But again, I'm gonna try to see if I can commit to Thursdays and get that done. But again, thank you all so much for supporting the show. It's just me, hosted by Brent Fox, and I will see y'all guys later.